Hello Internet, this is your one and only favorite YouTube channel host, owner, and founder, me, VentureLink. Well, as you all know, I was wanting the Samsung Galaxy S4, and I still am. The plan was to switch over in the summer, but because of how Sprint's been as of late, and I can get better deals somewhere else, it's going to be happening a lot sooner than I thought. Just so you know, the Galaxy S4 comes out April 24th on T-Mobile, and comes out 3 days later on Sprint, just so you all know. So because of that, I'm going to give a fair, balanced, and objective review on my experiences with Sprint, the HTC Evo 3D that I had, which is, well, this doohickey here, as well as the Sprint Airwave, which, if you can see it, is this little doohickey right here. So let's get started. Well, what can I say about my experiences with Sprint, the Evo 3D, and the Airwave? Well, to start with, if I was to give star ratings, the Airwave would get 4 out of 5, the Evo 3D would get 3 to 3 out of 5, Sprint would get 2 to 2.5. Here's why. With the Airwave, a little bit of background about the Airwave and what it does is that it hooks into your mobile, not your mobile, but your regular internet line. If you're broadband, like if you got ADSL or cable, plugs right in and it acts as a signal booster for your voice and text messages. Pretty useful if you have a house that's crappy and gets crappy signals inside, and even makes your phone roam a lot. What I did was I went to Sprint's Facebook page, complained about my issues, they checked my coverage, verified that the house did get a crappy signal, and because of that, they let me on an Airwave for free. So I have to say thanks again to Sprint for that, and the 2 reps that helped me, be it through Facebook and through email. So thanks a lot. I do appreciate that. The only drawback, though, is that sometimes it likes to error out, and especially if you send text to your friends, once the errors not flatten, but fix themselves, it starts sending all those text messages you sent before, and it sends them in very big numbers to the point where it's mega annoying. So do keep that in mind if you do get an Airwave. Next off is going to be the HTC Evo 3D. As you all know, that's the phone that I got when I got with Sprint. Got it in summer 2011, August specifically, when I got my Sprint contract. At the time, I basically wanted the Evo 3D because it was probably the only smartphone at the time. Keep in mind, this was summer of 2011, that, to my knowledge, had a dual-core processor in it. Of course, the 3D part didn't really get me. To me, 3D, regardless of what it's in, cell phones, TVs, video games, Blu-rays, what have you, is all just a gimmick. And not to mention, I sometimes can't see 3D anyway. So I mainly got it for the specs and all that. Giga RAM and ROM, dual-core processor pretty much sold me. One nice thing about the Evo 3D is that it did, play all my games and such. But as a big drawback, if you like to use Bluetooth rigs for your console controllers, like for Wii remotes, 6-axis, whatever, just as a heads up, you're not going to get them to work. And for a while, Wii remotes didn't even work on the Evo 3D. Now, of course, nowadays with the ice cream sandwich upgrade that Sprint gave us, way too late, I should say, that was, like I said in other reviews of other emulators from Robert Broglia, aka Rakashazi. He made all of his .mu emulators, as well as SNES, 9X, EX, and EX Plus. That's the only way I was able to get Wii remotes to work on my Evo 3D. Of course, to my understanding, this is an issue with HTC devices as a whole, not just the Evo 3D, so I guess you could say it's my fault for not doing my homework, and instead being sold on ZOMG, it's got a dual core, yo! Or whatever. The big drawback to the Evo 3D is that less than a year after it was made and sold, it was rendered obsolete because Sprint decided it wanted to upgrade its networks from the WiMAX system that you may know now to something called LTE. The gigantic problem with that is that LTE is only in certain markets right now, and some markets didn't even get the WiMAX version of 4G. So there's a fat chance they're going to get LTE, and in our area, it's probably going to be very slow to roll out. And Sprint loves to charge the $10 a month premium plan, even if your area does not have the 4G service. So do keep that in mind if you do go to Sprint. Make sure you do your homework. Make sure your device is compatible with the area that you will be staying in a good majority of the time. As for the firmware updates on the Evo 3D, they've been very slow to come out, especially with the ice cream sandwich update. Despite the Evo 3D's obsolescence, they still rolled out the ice cream sandwich, but it just kept being like the Loch Ness Monster or something, because it was like one big tease. First it was like in April, then May, then June, then July, and it was finally released in like, I think it was like in August or something. So if you do go to Sprint, do keep in mind that sometimes their firmware upgrades for their devices are pretty slow to roll out. It depends upon who has your device. I guess you could say this is partial HTC, partial Sprint. I don't know. And as far as custom firmwares, what's pretty sad is that the Virgin Mobile has a ripoff of the Evo 3D. I think it's like Evo V 4G or something. It's pretty much the Evo 3D, but on Virgin Mobile. Sad thing is, it got ice cream sandwich long before its parent company Sprint got it for their Evo 3Ds, and people was able to take the official firmware upgrade from the Virgin Mobile version and make it work on Sprint long before Sprint released an official version. So to Sprint, I must ask you so far, and I didn't even get to your review yet, I must ask you, what were you thinking? Anyways, on to still on the Evo 3D. I'm still trying to think of other things. At least it came with you could get an extended battery for it, which that was pretty awesome. I've got one installed in my Evo 3D. It's been working pretty good. And I should make one honorable mention for the Evo 3D right now, is that it has this annoying feature where if you're switching between connections like 4G, 3G, Wi-Fi, etc., it likes to drop out all the other connections you have and reset them. Whereas when I have my old BlackBerry, it used to switch seamlessly between its 1X mode and the Wi-Fi mode. Except of course when I use the Wi-Fi on phone calls feature, which that would just drop out and call would fail and go back to its regular 1X service, or whatever the equivalent of GSM is for 1X. Yeah, that's all I got to say about the Evo 3D. Let's just hope that my Samsung Galaxy S4 purchase is a good one. Now on the Sprint itself. This one, I've already, made honorable mentions in the Airwave and the Evo 3D portion of the review, but on the Sprint, if you're a loyal customer, don't expect much from their upgrades. All their upgrades are is just a contract renewal at the normal price for the phone. Like for example, right now the Galaxy S3 is probably like $100, Note 2 is $200, and the S4 when it comes out will be $250. So expect to pay $250 plus a $36 activation fee. That's just almost like giving a big FU to everyone on Sprint already. But the sad thing is that if you're a new customer to Sprint, you get $100 off on it. Combined with the fact that pretty much every other network is going to be selling the 16 gig version of the S4 for around $200 anyway, and yeah, you can definitely see part of where I'm going with this. As of late, the 4G, hasn't really been on the ball. I'm not sure what is the cause of this, but like to have work in 4G. Because sometimes Facebook likes to be slow, and sometimes even 3G and the 1X is almost like dial-up. So, not to mention too, like I said, Sprint likes to charge a $10 data premium, even if your area does not participate in the 4G service of any kind. And not to mention too, I'm not going to be able to take advantage of 4G LTE because My area doesn't have it, so what more can I do? So I guess if you're a new customer to Sprint, keep in mind that this discount that you get for switching to them or being a new customer is pretty much the only discount you're going to get. Buyback options for your old phone, don't even consider it unless it's only a couple years old or so. And especially don't consider it if your phone isn't really all that known. Like Samsung's with Sprint, they still hold their value on the trade-in. Evo 3D surprisingly held its value. Last I checked, it was around $48. So if you have, say, a 2-year-old phone or a 1-year-old phone even, go for it. Otherwise, don't even bother. As is, the $48 toward the upgrade would only take out the $36 activation fee and barely put a dent on the $250 upfront purchase of the S4 or whatever device I'm going to get. And sometimes, of course, the data speeds are slow, like I said. Even the 4G speeds were slow. So Sprint, sorry, but after almost 2 years, and the way you're treating your longtime customers of over 10 years or so, and I've only been with you almost 2 years, I'm sorry, but for right now, I'm just going to have to go somewhere else. So, this was my fair, balanced, objective, and honest review of the Sprint service, the Airwave, and the HTC Evo 3D. And I'm going to venture a link if you have any questions, comments, concerns, praise, etc. about my review. Hit me up in the comment section. If you subscribe, thumbs up, thumbs down buttons are at the bottom of every YouTube video on YouTube. Mine are no exception. Hit the subscribe button. You can see any new videos I produce in your news feed and in your Just For You weekly YouTube email. Thumbs up, thumbs down, I guess, are for giving me silent feedback. And I'm going to close this review out as always by quoting Eric the Car Guy and saying, be safe, have fun, and stay dirty. Couple more from me. It's starting to get a little warm outside, so stay cool and stay hydrated. Additionally, this week it started to get kind of cool again, so stay warm. Put on thicker clothes if you have to. Stay healthy. Don't forget to scan your spoo. Sometimes your pee slip. See you next time, and have a good day.